From the Lower Colorado River Authority, this is Wavelength.
The creation of this new river authority will help electrify rural Texas.
And so today, we gather here to dedicate this mighty structure, the Cannon Bell.
This has been a great organization for 70 years, and it's going to be a great organization for a long time to come.
Hi everyone, welcome to the September 2006 edition of Wavelength. We're here at the TDS facility in Creedmoor with some 400 LCRA managers and supervisors from all over the organization for the General Manager's biannual meeting.
You know, the public's looking at what we're doing, so how...
These meetings serve as a forum for sharing information about recent accomplishments as well as finding out where the organization is headed, what the major goals are for the coming year. The fiscal year 2007 business plan serves as a roadmap to guide LCRA toward those future goals.
And everything we do ought to be geared around our customers appreciating what we do and wanting us to be here. Because if our customers, and I'm not talking just electric customers, I'm not talking just water customers, I'm talking about everybody that we touch. If that universe of customers ever decides that they really don't need LCRA, then we won't exist. Something will happen and service will be provided in another way. So that is a crucial element of this business plan.
Another key element of the business plan has a direct effect on every LCRA employee. It's called pay for performance, and it changes the way job performance is evaluated and compensated. Job evaluation will now take place twice a year instead of quarterly, and employees will be rated as outstanding, valued, satisfactory, or unsatisfactory. Your performance rating will also determine the amount of gain sharing you receive.
But the days of paying everybody the same amount of increase or paying everybody the same for a similar job are behind us. We're going to be paying for performance. And that is something that was generated from within this group, and I think that's good. It seems to me only right and fair that that's the way we do it.
These changes resulted from answers employees gave on the 2005 Gallup survey and were crafted with the help and input of employees from all areas of the company.
A couple things that the average employee needs to understand. They need to communicate, talk with their managers clearly to know what's expected of them in their job. What are their performance expectations? Then also make sure they have a clear understanding of their working relationships, who they need to work with, what kinds of teamwork skills, communication skills, leadership skills that they need to show in that as well, because that is going to be an important factor in their rating this year. So it isn't just what they've done, but also how they've done their job.
By the end of September, all managers and supervisors will have taken classes on the new job evaluation process, and all employees will have access to this information on a voluntary basis.
So today, as we talk about the business plan,
Joe Beal also discussed other important issues with the group, including the upcoming legislative session and how it could impact LCRA, the rapid growth of our water and wastewater utilities, and LCRA's relationship with our wholesale electric customers. New manager of auditing services, Charlie Johnson, has been with LCRA just 6 weeks. He says this managers meeting has given him a head start on learning about LCRA.
So it's really helpful to have these opportunities to meet the management and leaders of other areas, interact with them, get to know them on a personal level. It's those types of relationships that I rely on to help me do my job in leading my function in the different areas of the organization.
With lake levels dropping, hill country wells drying up, and grass turning a crispy brown, the demand for water is extremely high. During the summer months in Central Texas, outdoor watering accounts for 60% of our household water use. An average residential family in Travis County uses from 180 to 300 gallons of water per person per day.
This hot dog isn't the only thing that's parched around here.
LCRA and the City of Austin have joined forces to help residents extend and protect the region's water supply with a campaign called Water IQ, Know Your Water.
Research shows that 4 out of 5 Texans do not know the source of their water supply. But when people learn where their water comes from and that it is a limited resource, they are more likely to save and protect it.
Surface water from the Colorado River is the natural source of water for most Austin and LCRA customers. That's more than 1 million people in communities throughout the region.
His hairline isn't the only thing receding around here. The Colorado River.
The Water IQ campaign will use TV, radio, and newspaper advertising, billboards, and the web to inform people just how simple saving water can be. The primary challenge of the campaign? Reduce our water use by 10%.
Who can make a difference here? Joe and I are here with board members and council members to show you our personal and professional commitment to making this happen, to partnering together to amplify each other's efforts. But it's more important that each of you, citizens, do the simple, easy things to save water.
There are many simple ways to save water without changing your lifestyle.
Pops up when the pressure comes on. Water sprays
Experts say that a typical home on a 1/4 acre lot uses about 3,000 gallons of water each time the automatic irrigation system runs. Inspect your system twice a year for damaged or misdirected sprinkler heads. Add a rain sensor to your irrigation system. This can save up to 30% on your outdoor water use. Improving your soil, adding 4 to 6 inches of mulch to your beds, and using drought-tolerant plants in your landscape can also help save water.
The best thing you can do is to mow high, because longer grass shades its own root system.
Check for leaks in faucets, pipes, and toilets. One slow drip can waste 20 gallons of water daily. That's 7,000 gallons a year.
The population in Central Texas is expected to double in the next 20 years, but there's going to be the same amount of water available during that 20-year period. So it is imperative that we learn how to conserve and to stretch this limited water supply.
Record heat also means record demand for electricity throughout the region. For LCRA and other electric utilities, this means not only having the generation capacity to meet this demand, but having the infrastructure of transmission lines and substations to deliver that power to our customers. When LCRA first brought power to the remote farms and ranches of Central Texas in the 1930s and 40s, it was a very different world.
If you think about the 70-year history of LCRA, our activities in transmission have primarily been in rural areas, but that's no longer the case. If you kind of conceive in your mind the I-35 corridor between Austin and San Antonio with San Marcos and New Braunfels and the growth that we've experienced there, now most of our transmission activities are through heavily populated areas in order to serve population growth.
On the blueprint, it's called T459. Project manager Ray Renner and engineer Jacob Henry are inspecting this brand new LCRA transmission line that runs from the Kendall substation in Comfort through 21 miles of challenging hilly terrain down through Bernie. Here on the Kendall-Bear County line, it passes off to City Public Service and runs another 22 miles to San Antonio. This dual-circuit line has 138 kV service on one side and 345 kV on the other.
Well, I think the project stems from the obvious growth in the Texas Hill Country in this area, the Bernie area, on up to around Comfort and towards Fredericksburg. All the movement to this area obviously creates a need for the electrical capacity to hold that.
The total budget for this project was $46 million.
LCRA Transmission Services Corporation energized the 138 kV line on July 3rd, culminating a 4-year-long process.
Well, certainly it's a proud moment to see everything done and built on the line. There are a lot of people that work very, very hard to make all this happen. We have people in our regulatory services that put in hours and hours of effort, had multiple open houses so that they could gather public input to make sure that we met the needs and desires of the public.
Oh, Clear Springs, that's where we're going to terminate that new line.
I was working on
LCRA is currently in the planning and regulatory stage for one of the largest transmission projects in its history. The 80-mile-long Clear Springs to Hutto line will serve this new growth corridor east of Austin and provide a vital south-to-north reliability link for the ERCOT grid.
And all of these infrastructure projects cannot be done overnight. Transmission lines take years and years and years to site, to go through the public process, the regulatory process, the property acquisition and construction of the line. So what we're doing today is not to resolve issues that are on the board today. What we're doing today is to resolve issues that we'll see a decade from now.
In recent years, LCRA has moved far beyond its traditional electric service area, building transmission lines in South Texas and far West Texas. These lines help bring renewable wind power to population centers around the state, and again, increase reliability of the electrical grid in Texas. City Public Service is expected to complete construction on their section of the T459 project in January, at which time the 345 kV line will be energized.
What better way to preserve and protect our water resources than to educate and motivate our children to care about these precious resources and give them the knowledge and tools to protect them? 40 teachers from around the state came to Austin recently for the first ever Groundwater to the Gulf Summer Institute for Educators. The 2-day program follows the path of groundwater as it emerges from Central Texas Springs and eventually flows into the Colorado River on its way to the Gulf of Mexico. The program focuses on groundwater, urban watersheds, water quality, water protection, and conservation for grades 4 through 8.
So we've had a group get a water penny, a group get a mayfly. So we got 3 from our excellent water quality group.
Water quality experts from the City of Austin and LCRA demonstrated how aquatic insects can help determine the water quality of a creek or stream.
And for me, it really shows that we are all in this together as a community. We are a community of citizens, and if we work together to enlighten our youth, then they make better users. I think it goes back to the old saying, it's not our land, it's only being loaned to us and then goes on to our children and grandchildren.
The warmer the day, the less oxygen you would expect. Colder water can actually hold more oxygen than warm water.
Teachers also learned how to test for water quality parameters, such as dissolved oxygen, pH, and temperature.
I feel like I know a little bit more than I did last year when I taught the unit for the first time. So now I feel I can really talk about it more intelligently. And I love learning things outside of the classroom so that I can bring those experiences to the children. It makes it more real for them, I think.
Nice damselfly there.
It just always impresses me to see that these people are in their classrooms, but they're also willing to come out and brave this heat and brave the mud and the water and are very interested in partaking in it.
8 organizations, including Texas Parks and Wildlife, LCRA, the City of Austin, and Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center, teamed up to sponsor this event, which was presented free to educators. Teachers receive continuing education credits, as well as resources to take back to their classrooms. Plans are to double the number of participants in the program next summer.
Protective equipment is standard.
For Ben Voigt's transmission maintenance crew, working together in hazardous conditions is a part of their daily routine. They follow strict safety procedures and watch out for each other on the job. Each of them takes comfort in knowing that everyone on the crew has extensive rescue and first aid training.
It was right at a month ago. We were here in the same restaurant, same table, and sitting about where we are now.
Two gentlemen were sitting at the table behind us over here, and they had got their order, and she came by and said, you know, I'll be right back and get y'all's tea and stuff. They started eating, and next thing you know, the gentleman stands up.
When his attention really focused this way, I started noticing something was wrong.
Kicks his chair out from behind him kind of, and puts his hand to his throat, saying that he was didn't say he was choking, but gave the sign that he was choking.
And when I looked back, Ben was already on his way over here. He didn't wait very long for the guy to choke any longer.
His friend was trying to perform the Heimlich on him. He was a little high on his chest, and he wasn't really hitting him very hard with this when you're supposed to give them the thrust. And I told him, no, you need to hit him a little harder.
It wasn't hard to tell that the situation was fixing to turn pretty bad pretty fast.
He reached back and started hitting him with hitting him in the chest with his fist. And I said, no, let me do it. So I came around, got behind him here, grabbed him in here like this, and gave him 4 short thrusts. And on the 4th one, whatever he was choking on basically came up. I came back, sat down here, and went to the restroom and washed up afterwards.
But I thought it was pretty courageous for Ben or anyone to step up and take that situation in control, you know, and try to help somebody that you don't even know, a complete stranger.
20 years ago, Ben Voigt first used the Heimlich maneuver to save a friend who had choked at a party he was attending. About 2 years ago, Jeremy Alexander called on his training while attending a birthday party at a restaurant.
Shortly thereafter, he was unresponsive to anything. I'd say within 15, 20 seconds after he fell out of his chair. We felt for a pulse, made sure everything was ready for it, and we started CPR. We did CPR for about 15 minutes till paramedics arrived, and we continued CPR until the AED was used. They tried that 3 times, determined that he wasn't going to make it. I had never had CPR or any really good first aid classes until I got to LCRA. And the training I've had here, just like Ben said, it was second nature. You never thought twice about it. I knew that I had the training to be able to help, and I wanted to help.
I think everybody ought to know how to do it. You never know who you're going to save. It might be your kids, it might be your wife, it might be your mother or your father, or a friend.
Well, that's it for this edition of Wavelength. We'll look forward to seeing you again next time.